In this video, we're going to take a look at the different ways to create particles. We'll go ahead and create a thinking system and click on Properties to get into the UI. I'll change that viewport around. Now the first one that we're going to take a look at, we'll create our first dynamic set. And once we've got it selected, we get the Create menu. We'll go up to the Operators into the Generator subcategory. And the first one we want to take a look at is PositionBorn. PositionBorn is one of the simplest and very useful. It immediately gives particles a speed and direction. It also has extra parameters to specify like mass, size, etc. And let's go ahead and talk very quickly about the different parameters. The first option is which group do we want to born these particles into. Right now we only have the all group, so let's go ahead and create a couple more groups. Create a red group and a green. Let's also go ahead and create a blue for later. And we'll just update their colors so we can see them in the viewport. Okay, and so if we wanted this PositionBorn operator to go ahead and born red particles, now as we scrub we can see him creating those. We'll go ahead and adjust the speed, and we'll notice that as we increase this, nothing's happening. The reason for that is if we look on the master dynamic, Edit on the Fly is turned on, which means that we have to go ahead and scrub in order to see those changes updated. If we want to have real-time feedback, then we can turn Edit on the Fly off. Just be forewarned that if you have a really complex particle system, maybe a lot of collisions or deforming particles, and you're way out in time and start making changes to parameters, it can take a little while to update. So just be aware of that. Sometimes it is faster and better to have Edit on the Fly turned on. For a simple system like this, we'll go ahead and turn it off just to see those changes immediately. Okay, so we've got PositionBorn, we got some speed here. Let's talk a little bit about how the speed values and variation values work in thinking particles. This speed value is going to define the maximum value per particle. If we want to add variation to that, it's not like pflow where it will go above and below. What this does is we have a maximum speed of 50, and as we start to increase the variation, it's going to pull them back down toward, in this case it'll be toward 0. So at 100%, some of them will move at 0, and the rest of them will move in between 0 and 50. And if we want some minimum speed value, we should do less than 100%. Okay, but if we went ahead and set the variation at 50%, then of course our speed, these particles would be going between 25 and 50. Okay, a lot of these other parameters are pretty self-explanatory. Direction variation will change the direction that it can go. Size really comes into play if we go ahead and add like a shape operator, maybe a standard shape. We'll go ahead and make that connection so that it affects those particles. We'll change the standard shape to be a cube, and then of course we still don't see any mesh out here because we have to go to Master Dynamic, turn on Show Mesh, and now we can see that. We also get the ticks visible in there. Let's say we want to hide those, we'll say none, so we only see the mesh. So as we increase that size, and you'll notice that as we change the variation, same thing as the speed, the size acts as a maximum value, variation is going to affect kind of up to that value. Something else, we've got emission distance. Emission distance uses the emission point for these particles and will actually create them away from the actual emission point by a certain distance. So if we wanted to say, oh, I want you to be born, 30 units away from the position, we could affect that emission distance there. And of course, if we want to vary that, same thing, would just increase it. Something very important about PositionBorn is it does not actually have a position value in here that you can modify. It has to be used as an input. And of course, to be able to do that, as we saw in the intro video, we can use a 0.3, pipe that into the position, and then we'll go ahead and adjust that accordingly. We can see it update there.